I'm not the kind of guy who snoops through his wife's purse. I mean, come on. I'm a systems analyst. My job is literally to trust data, not gut feelings. But when the spreadsheet of your life starts spitting out anomalies, skipped, cells, duplicated entries, blank spaces where there used to be warmth, even the nerdiest of us start running diagnostics. Karen and I have been married for 21 years. She's 44 now, looks 34, and moves through a room like she owns the air around her. She's always been charismatic, the kind of woman who can talk her way out of a speeding ticket while you're still fumbling for your insurance card. I used to think it was hot. Now, it just makes me wonder what else she's talked her way out of. It started small. And let's be clear, the real damage always starts with the small stuff. She stopped laughing at my sarcastic comments. Her texts got shorter. Her touch got rarer. She began working late so often that I half joked about installing a cot at her law firm. She didn't laugh. That's when I stopped joking. One night, she left her coat on the kitchen chair. Her wallet fell out, classic Karen, and as I picked it up, a folded receipt slipped onto the floor. It was from Cafe Bellamy, dated Tuesday, 12:47 p.m., 2 cappuccinos, a grilled salmon wrap, a Cobb salad, total $37.84. The kicker? That was the same Tuesday she told me the whole team had gone to lunch. I flipped it over. No names, just a little hand-drawn heart next to the tip. Not suspicious at all, right? Look, I didn't storm into her office or smash plates in the sink. I did what any emotionally regulated adult man with Wi-Fi and Amazon Prime would do. I bought a $76 Bluetooth speaker with a built-in motion-triggered micro camera, disguised it under the label of a home audio upgrade, and told Karen I was testing the acoustics in the bedroom. She didn't bat an eye. Either she believed me or she'd stopped listening to me months ago. Could go either way. I positioned the speaker on the dresser, angled toward the bed, wires snaking behind. A lamp. I told her I'd finish the setup later, then made a big show of complaining about how the app wouldn't sync. Meanwhile, it synced just fine. The interface was clunky, but it had one golden feature: real-time push notifications when motion was detected. 2 days later, at precisely 3:43 p.m., I got a ping. I was in line at Trader Joe's debating whether I could justify frozen gnocchi for the third time that week. The message read, "Motion detected. Bedroom, 3:40 p.m." I stared at the screen, then bought the gnocchi anyway. You need fuel for what comes next. Instead of watching the live feed right there next to the quinoa crackers, I drove home. I told myself maybe she was just looking for a sweater. Maybe she dropped something. Maybe she was crying into our pillows because she missed the old us. I parked 2 houses down and walked up the driveway like I was casing my own home. The garage door was shut. No extra cars. That made me pause. Karen usually parked in the driveway. When she was home during work hours, said the garage was too dark and murdery. I guess that day, murdery was fine. Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet, like it had swallowed its own tongue. I crept toward the bedroom, footsteps soft. On the hardwood. The door was cracked open, just enough to whisper a betrayal. Laughter. A low, rumbling male laugh. Then hers. Breathy, playful, familiar, in a way that made my spine tighten like a violin string. I didn't go in. Not yet. I backed out, grabbed my keys, and went for a drive. No destination, just motion. Like the speaker, I needed to detect something. Process. Think. That night, I didn't confront her. I watched the footage alone. At first, it was pixelated. Cheap camera, dim light. But you didn't need HD to get the message. There was Karen, and there was Travis. Let me explain who Travis Stone is. He's the kind of guy you trust with your gutters, your mother's TV mount, and your favorite bourbon, hands like baseball mitts, a voice like gravel soaked in whiskey. He works with Karen's firm on a bunch of pro bono projects, Habitat for Humanity type deals. He was the guy who could fix stuff. Turns out he could also break things. They joked about how last time was louder and how he's nothing like Nathan. That part hit like a shovel to the soul if shovels came with smug grins and hip flexors. I didn't throw anything. I didn't cry. Instead, I got an idea. In the garage, buried under boxes of tax returns and old Halloween decorations, I found what I was looking for, a dusty plastic bin labeled Ashley's Baby Stuff. Inside, under a pair of tiny shoes and a teething ring, was a panda mask. Oversized, cartoonish, weirdly menacing. Ashley wore it when she was 3 and obsessed with animal videos. I put it on. Then I walked back into the house, climbed the stairs, and opened the bedroom door without a word. Karen screamed. Travis dropped a pillow over himself like it was going to restore his dignity. I stood there in silence, a 6-foot panda breathing heavily through foam and polyester, staring at the 2 people who had turned my home into a punchline. I tilted my head and said, "So, tell me, Karen, was the sink leaking, or were you just really in need of plumbing?" Her jaw dropped. Travis said something, but I didn't catch it. I was already turning around, already heading down the stairs. I left the panda mask on the kitchen counter next to the gnocchi. Then I walked out and sat in the park for 3 hours, scrolling through Reddit threads titled, "Caught My Spouse Cheating. Now what?" My favorite comment was, "Burn their stuff or burn calories. Either way, don't burn your life." Smart guy. The morning after the panda incident, yes, that's what I'm calling it now, Karen acted like she'd dreamed it. She made coffee like usual, 2 sugars for me, almond milk for her, and asked if I'd be back for dinner. I told her I'd play it by ear, which is marital code for I don't know if I'm still pretending we're married. She didn't press. She just nodded and sipped her coffee like I hadn't caught her and Travis playing orthopedic twister on our bed. I left the house wearing jeans I found at the back of the closet, a hoodie that still smelled like a 2018 road trip, and the face of a man who had seen his own ceiling fan spin above someone else's idea of passion. I didn't go to work. I drove aimlessly, stopping only to buy batteries I didn't need and a sandwich I didn't finish. Then I turned around and came home 3 hours early. I told myself it was just to check the shelf in the guest room, the one I pretended to be repairing the day before. But deep down, I knew why I came home. It wasn't to fix anything. It was to confirm that nothing could be fixed. As I pulled into the driveway, my stomach did that thing where it forgets you're over 40 and insists on doing somersaults like you're still 21 and prepping for a college debate. I didn't see Travis's truck. That didn't mean much. The man could have parachuted in for all I knew. Inside, the house greeted me with the quietness of guilt, that special hush, like the walls had made a pact to keep secrets. I walked toward the bedroom. The door was open. Just slightly, like a wink you don't want to understand. Voices, his again, deep, like a bass note that made your bones hum. Hers, softer now, familiar and foreign in the same breath. They were laughing. Then came the line that would become the official tattoo of my unraveling. Last time was louder. "Good thing your husband's more of a numbers guy than a noise guy," she giggled. He added, "He's probably building a spreadsheet right now. Pros and cons of being oblivious." I didn't walk in. I didn't need to. My dignity was already in the laundry basket with the sheets they were tangled in. Instead, I backed out of the hallway like I'd opened the wrong conference room. I made my way to the garage and did what any sane, rational man would do. I grabbed the panda mask. Again. The garage was stuffy, and the mask smelled like crayons and old Cheerios, but it fit better this time, like it was part of me now. I climbed the stairs slowly, deliberately, giving them a chance to hear me. They didn't. When I pushed open the door, they were mid-embrace, naked as betrayal itself. Karen turned first, eyes wide, mouth forming a silent, "Oh my God." Travis froze. then reached for a pillow like it was an invisibility cloak. There we were, a cheating wife, a flannel-draped homewrecker, and a 6-foot panda in a hoodie. A sitcom setup if sitcoms came with trust issues and alimony. I didn't yell, I didn't curse. I just tilted my fuzzy head and asked, "Is this the new couple's therapy package? 'Cause the Bluetooth speaker didn't mention a nudity clause." Karen screamed. Travis stammered something about misunderstanding boundaries. I shrugged and said, "Interesting. You misunderstood my wife's vows, too." Then I walked out. No slammed doors, no threats, just a quiet exit, like a man who'd found mold in his favorite sandwich. Disappointing, but not shocking. I drove straight to the lake, not because I needed serenity or nature or whatever people in rom-coms pretend helps. No, I just needed a place where nobody would ask why a grown man was holding a panda head under one arm and watching Reddit videos on how to survive emotional demolition. I found a bench, sat down, and opened my phone. The thread I landed on was titled, "Caught Wife Cheating. Walked in wearing a dinosaur onesie. Advice?" I felt seen. One comment read, "You can't unsee it, but you can unneed it." Another said, "Remember, if she lies with her lips, she's already lied with her heart." Poetic, slightly unhinged, possibly written by a guy who lives with ferrets. Still, I bookmarked it. After an hour, I texted Karen exactly 4 words. "We need to talk." She replied instantly, "Please come home." Notice, not "I'm sorry" or "It's not what it looked like," just "Please come home," like I was the one who got lost. When I walked back in, she was fully dressed, sitting on the couch with her hands folded like a woman awaiting a sentence. "I'm sorry," she said. I didn't respond. It was stupid. I was stupid. Still nothing. "I missed feeling wanted," she added, which was ironic coming from the woman who treated me like a background app for 6 months. I sat down, looked her straight in the eyes, and said, "Karen, you didn't just burn the house. You set fire to the blueprint, the insurance policy, and the welcome mat. And you did it with a man whose idea of foreplay is probably discussing power tools." She blinked, maybe hurt, maybe impressed. Honestly, at that point, I didn't care which. She started crying, the kind of crying that made you want to comfort her, if only you weren't the guy she cheated on. After a long silence, she asked, "What now?" I stood up, looked at the panda mask still sitting on the counter, and replied, "You ever hear of controlled demolition? It's where they blow up a building piece by piece, carefully, methodically, so it doesn't hurt anything around it. That's what we're doing. Now, unless you want total collapse." Then I walked upstairs. That night, I slept in the guest room for the first time since we painted it beige and called it multi-purpose. The mattress was firm, the air colder, and my phone buzzed with messages from Ashley, our daughter, asking if I was okay. I typed and erased my reply 4 times before settling on, "Life lesson, kiddo. Never underestimate what your Bluetooth speaker might hear." She replied with 1 word. "What?" I left it on red. Let her wonder. She deserved a few spoilers before the big reveal. I always thought the worst part of betrayal would be the moment you catch it happening. Turns out it's actually the after. The silence that hangs between toothbrushes. The way your coffee tastes like someone else brewed it in your mug. The realization that even the fridge light feels colder than usual. The morning after I relocated to the guest room, or as I now call it, the neutral zone, I woke up to the sound of Karen moving around in the kitchen. She wasn't humming. That told me more than words ever could. I ignored her knock on the door. Twice. Around noon, I did something bold, or dumb, depending on how you see it. I texted our daughter, Ashley. "Now, before you clutch your pearls." I didn't unload the entire Shakespearean drama on her. I just said, "I need to talk, in person, today." That was it. Her response came back 2 seconds later. "Am I in trouble, or are you dying?" Classic Ashley. I picked her up at her dorm. She slid into the car with that wide-eyed look kids get when they know something's off, but aren't sure which parent to blame yet. I drove to a little burger joint we used to go to when she was in high school, back when the biggest scandal was me forgetting to pick up her prom dress. She ordered a milkshake. I didn't. I figured I'd save the calories for the emotional damage. We sat in the booth in silence until she finally asked, "Okay, what's going on? Did someone die? Is it Grandma?" "No one's dead," I said, "unless you count my patience, my marriage, and my faith in Bluetooth technology." Her eyebrows knit together. "Dad." "What?" So I told her. Not all of it. I left out the part about Travis's unfortunate tan lines and my temporary identity as a bedroom panda. But I told her enough. Enough to see her face shift from confusion to horror to fury in under a minute. She stared at me like I had said aliens abducted her mother. "No, you're kidding." I shook my head. "Mom? With Travis? The guy who helped fix our deck and couldn't figure out how to unlock a sliding door?" "Apparently he knows how to open other things," I said deadpan. She winced. "You, delete that. Mentally. Immediately." I didn't smile. She did, briefly. Then her eyes welled up and she looked down at her half-melted shake. "Why would she do that? To you? You're like the most stable person I know. You're like the emotional Wi-Fi of our whole family." "That may be the weirdest compliment I've ever received," I said, "but I'll take it." She got up suddenly. I thought she was going to the restroom. She wasn't. She was calling an Uber. 10 minutes later, we were both standing in the driveway, Ashley with a rage in her chest that I hadn't seen since the great dorm roommate war of freshman year. She stomped through the front door like a one-woman SWAT team. Karen was in the living room folding laundry, because apparently nothing screams innocence like a neatly stacked pile of socks. Ashley didn't wait. "Seriously, Mom?" she said, venom dripping from every syllable. "You cheated on Dad? With Travis tattoo underboob stone?" Karen froze. "Ashley, this isn't how—" No, you don't get to Ashley me right now," she snapped. "You broke Dad. You broke us. You broke our whole family vibe for a guy who once asked me if kombucha was a skin disease." Karen's eyes filled with tears. She tried to reach for her, but Ashley pulled back. "I looked up to you," she whispered. "You were Mom. You were supposed to be the one with the answers. Now you're just a cautionary tale in yoga pants." I stood in the hallway, invisible, letting it happen. Karen cried. Ashley stormed past me, brushing off my attempt to touch her arm. "I need air," she muttered, and just like that, she was gone. Karen collapsed on the couch, face in hands, muttering words like depression, mistake, and midlife. I sat in the chair across from her, calm as a monk in a hurricane. "Did you love him?" I asked. "No," she said instantly. Too instantly. I nodded. "Did you plan to leave me?" "No," she said again, but this time with hesitation. "It was never serious. It just happened. Things don't just happen, Karen. Flat tires happen. Squirrels in the attic happen. Adultery takes coordination. And according to the bank, it takes around $800 worth of Airbnb stays." That's when her face went pale. "What?" "Oh, you didn't think I'd check the bank statements?" I asked. "I'm a systems analyst, sweetheart. My job is literally to find hidden patterns. You were very consistent. Same time every other Friday. You labeled it wellness retreat." Karen broke. Fully. "I was scared," she said. "I felt invisible. You were always working, always analyzing. I needed to feel seen." "So you paid someone else to look at you?" I asked. "With my money?" She couldn't answer that. That night, I didn't sleep in the guest room. I slept in the car. Not because I had to, but because I wanted distance. From the house. From her. From the soft lies she'd wrapped in pillowcases and called marriage. Before I turned off the engine, I texted her. "Tomorrow, we go to legal consult. You bring honesty. I'll bring the panda. Some men throw fists. Some throw ultimatums. I chose paperwork. The following Monday, I scheduled a meeting with a divorce attorney. Karen came along, mascara already smudged, before we left the driveway. She wore the necklace I gave her on our 10th anniversary. Subtle manipulation disguised as nostalgia. I wore a shirt that still smelled like her laundry detergent. Subtle, too, but not on purpose. The office was beige. The kind of beige that made you feel like nobody wins here, but at least you'll have a folder to cry into. The lawyer, an older woman named Judith, was sharp, unsentimental, and completely unfazed by the phrase, hidden camera inside a Bluetooth speaker. She simply nodded and asked, "Do you want to file now or wait?" I looked at Karen. She didn't say anything, didn't beg, didn't cry this time. She just stared at the carpet, as if the fibers held some answer she couldn't find in herself. I turned back to Judith. "Wait, 1 month." Judith raised an eyebrow but didn't question it, just handed me a packet titled Dissolution Preparedness, Timeline. The kind of document that reminds you love can, in fact, be bullet-pointed. At home, Karen followed me into the kitchen like a shadow trying to reattach itself. "Why wait?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Because I'm not here for revenge, Karen. I'm here to see if the rubble still remembers what the house used to be. And because, truth be told, I didn't want to become that guy. The one who let bitterness age him faster than time ever could. I wanted clarity, not custody of chaos." The next few weeks were a social experiment in awkward choreography. I slept in the guest room. We had separate groceries. I labeled my milk. She stopped wearing perfume. Ashley stayed quiet, communicating, only through group texts that sounded like ceasefires. But Karen, she changed. She deleted all her social media. She signed up for therapy and actually went. She offered to go to church with Ashley, a woman who once called Sunday services God's waiting room for boomers. She even started cooking again, badly, but with effort. And when she burned the lasagna, she laughed, not nervously, genuinely. It was jarring. One night I came home and found her in the garage, sitting on the floor with a bin of old family stuff. She held up Ashley's panda plush, the twin to my infamous mask. "I found it in the attic," she said. "Thought I threw it out years ago." I took it from her, ran my thumb over its stitched eye, and said nothing. The next morning, she came to me with puffy eyes and a folded piece of paper. It was a letter, handwritten, raw, full of words I'd waited months to hear and some I hadn't realized I needed. Not excuses, just truths. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just acknowledged that maybe she didn't deserve it. And that made me pause, not enough to forget, but enough to wonder. That night, I didn't sleep in the guest room. I didn't sleep in our bed either. I stayed up in the kitchen, lights off, just thinking about how love doesn't always die with a bang. Sometimes it starves quietly while both people are busy pretending they're not hungry. At sunrise, I did something she didn't expect. I walked into our bedroom, placed the panda plush on her pillow, and tucked a note under it. It said, "Everyone has their panda. Mine helped me see through the lies. Maybe yours can remind you how to be honest." Then I left the house. Not permanently. Not yet. Just to breathe. The truth is, I don't know if we'll make it. I don't know if trust can be rebuilt when the foundation's been dug out with hotel keys and half-truths. But I do know this. I have the power to choose now. I'm not reacting. I'm deciding. Karen knows that too. And that's the shift. Because for the first time in a long time, I'm not the one sitting in the dark waiting for answers. I am the answer.